What's up, Vinyl Community? It's your boy Chris coming at you live from the Man Cave, as always. And this one, I'm going to jump on board the Blue Note 1500 series project. And on this one, I'm going to be taking on Blue Note 1574. It's Peckin time. Hank Mobley. Phenomenal album. I was asked to do this, of course, by the creators of these wonderful ideas. They asked me to do this one specifically. I've been asked to do a couple before, but time got in the way. I wasn't able to, but I have time to do this one. I've committed to it. I'll jump on board. Maybe I'll do more of these in the future. I've only ever seen a couple of them, if I'm being completely honest with you, but the ones I've seen are by a couple of my boys, and I really enjoy looking at them. Guys like little Andrew, my boy Dave at Local Bandography. Great ones. So if you watch this one and you like it, I'd highly recommend, in particular, checking out theirs. I'll drop some links. Those are my boys. I always really enjoy watching theirs. But I'm going to take a swing at it. Again, Hank Mobley, Peckin time, Blue Note, 1574. What's, interesting about this one is, you guys who have been watching my channel long enough, no doubt know me as the OG press guy. Well, with this one, I've yet to be able to find an OG press for a price that didn't, involve me selling my vehicle. But I have a super nifty Japanese pressing, as you guys can see. Most of the time with jazz albums, I don't keep the OBI strip. I usually don't. I'll tuck it in the cover or something like that because I don't want it to distract from the artwork. But for this one, I always wanted to be reminded of what kind of a cool copy this was. So we'll talk about my copy first, and then of course I'll get to the music. For this one, of course, nobody can fuck with Blue Note's label. That center label, that iconic blue and white, that center label. 47 West 63rd addresses, the Lexington Ave addresses, the New York, USA address. You can't fuck with it. It's awesome. It's one of the things that makes collecting Blue Note, originals and whatnot, so interesting, so enjoyable. But this one doesn't have that, and normally that's something that would disappoint me. But I'll show you why it doesn't in this instance. Okay, so it's a Japanese white label promo. 70s pressing. Great stuff. You guys see, of course, the Japanese writing, everything, A side and B side. Phenomenal sounding, clean. When I got the copy in my collection, it looked as if it had never been played. It's from the Jazz Right Now series. Amazing stuff. And again, that's one of the things that I love so much about it, about this particular copy. Is one of these days I will upgrade. I will have my original, but in the meantime, this one more than do me. What I want to do now is take a second to break down the lineup for you. First of all, this is one of those, pressings where I think is a cool enough copy to have that even after I was to get my original someday, you guys know I usually like to trade out or sell or something like that. I might still keep this one. But Peckin time, Hank Mobley, and of course it's got Hank Mobley on the tenor, Lee Morgan on the trumpet, Wynton Kelly piano, Paul Chambers on bass, and Charlie Persh on the sticks. Guys, what a lineup for starters. Any time you have a horn section that's got Mobley and Morgan, you've got gold. I wouldn't care. I could be the leader of the album. I can't play anything but a turntable. But you let me put my name on it, but have those two in the horn section, this shit's going to be lit. Guaranteed. So first of all, let's start off with that. They're awesome as always. Morgan just so daring, so precise. The notes just pop out of that drum. So clear, so precise, so groundbreaking. Just the amount of talent. Mobley, a little bit more calm, cool, collected, but always on point. He's not the Coltrane or Sonny Rollins or somebody like that who's going to knock you out the park with his oh my god adventurous soloing prowess, if you will. He's kind of along the lines. He's almost like the Ringo Starr of jazz saxophones and jazz tenors, and I mean that in the best possible way. Because a lot of times, Ringo shows up on every, great rock and roll drummer's all-time favorite drummers list. He's on everybody's. And then a lot of people break it down with Ringo. And Ringo wasn't flashy. Ringo wasn't, adventurous. Ringo wasn't, blowing you away with, oh my God, hard, pounding solos and everything like that. No, but he played within the songs. He kept, arguably the greatest rock and roll band of all time, on pace, at all times. And when his moments came, he shined. He's the richest drummer who ever lived. Just saying. So I mean that as an absolute compliment. You know, Mobley, he stayed. It was always good. It was always crisp, always light and crisp, and just never tried to be more than what it was, and was always within the song. And I always really respected that. A lot of critics were really hard on Mobley in his heyday for exactly what I'm just talking to you guys about right now, about not being that Coltrane, that Sonny Rollins, that oh my God adventurous saxophone player. But in retrospect, as you guys have seen, in retrospect, the years come, and Hank Mobley has got nothing but props. He's got nothing but his love. He's so many people's top 4 or 5 favorite tenor. You know, he's got so many of our favorite albums ever on Blue Note. You know, No Room for Squares and The Turnaround and Roll Call and Soul Station and oh my God, classic after classic after classic. And this is one that you don't see brought up as much, but I freaking love it. It's worth loving for nothing else other than Mobley and Morgan. But I'll dive in deeper for you guys and give you guys even more reasons to love it. I know some of my contemporaries in this series play samples and everything like that. I'm not going to do that, but I will talk about some of the tracks in detail. But first of all, the album was recorded February 9th, 1958, one session, and it was released in December of 1958. Wonderful stuff, obviously. The very first track of the album, first of all, 5 compositions on the albums, 4 Mobley originals, which is always something that I always thought was really cool. I love a good jazz standard. I love an album full of jazz standards. But for me, if I can grab an album by a jazz artist I really respect and see almost all the material be original, I love it even more when it's all original. But 4 out of 5 Mobley originals, and they're all killer. They're all smokers. So the debut track, of course, Mobley composition, is High and Flighty, hard swinging. Wynton Kelly swings right along with it, which is awesome. Then, of course, you know, Chambers, he smokes it on the bass. Always one of the Paul Chambers. If you don't have him in you know, if you're not a jazz, if you don't have him in your top 3 jazz bassists of all time, most people are probably going to have him number 1. If you don't have him in your top 3, I don't know what your list looks like. I'd be interested to talk to you and find out who in the hell you can name 3 jazz bassists better than Paul Chambers. And then, of course, for me, Wynton Kelly is just one of the underrated jazz pianists of all time. Died in his 30s, young man, like so many of my other heroes. Person, of course, keeps it together, swings right along with it. And Mobley and Morgan smoke it. I mean, what else do you expect from, you know, one of the greatest tenors and one of the greatest trumpeters of all time on the same track? These guys just bounce right off of one another flawlessly. They really did. I mean, and there's a reason they're on so many albums on Blue Note together. Because even the session leaders, even when they weren't the leaders, the person that was the session leader knew about the chemistry. The next one is the only jazz standard on the album, is Speak Low, recorded by so many. Barbra Streisand took a swing at Speak Low, right? I'm a little biased, but this one is my favorite version of Speak Low, which of course is a jazz standard that goes way back. It's widely recorded. It's got that awesome like Latin style rhythm, especially at the very beginning of it, which is awesome. You know, then you got Mobley and Morgan, you know, split, you know, the opening melody and the chorus. You know, Kelly and Morgan, they all scorch their solos. It's got this improvised bridge that Mobley takes it into, and that's right before Morgan brings it home with the smoke. You know, he just drops the hammer on it, and it's just, man, it's a standard, but it's a good one. It's a gold standard, if you will. Then, of course, you've got Peckin Time, which is the title track of the album, again, to remind you guys, in case I hadn't already said it about 4 times. It really reminds me of late 40s style bop, but of course with a modern kick to it. You got stellar solos all the way around, starting with Kelly. Maybe Kelly's shining moment on the record. One of 2 or 3 that really stand out. Mobley takes it up with a calm, cool, strategic, you know, long line to double time solo. It's vintage Mobley. It really is, and there's so much what I love about him. It's like, again, it's not, you know, it's not Train, it's not Rollins, but it's so just perfectly placed, perfectly strategic. Hank knew exactly what he was doing, and it's always awesome. You know, one thing I've never heard a Hank Mobley solo I didn't enjoy. I got to tell you, And there's just something to be said about playing the right notes and playing and bringing in the right mood and everything and bringing in the right bridge and at the right time. There's just something to be said. And Hank Mobley's timing, impeccable, among the best ever, in my opinion, on his instrument. Then, of course, you got Morgan Smokes' his solo. Effortless, precise is probably Morgan's finest moment on the album, and that's always saying a lot about Morgan, because anything he plays on could always be anybody's finest moment. Chambers takes it into the chorus, probably his finest moment on the record as well. And then, of course, Mobley and Morgan split it after Chambers takes it into the bridge, if you will. He takes it into the chorus, excuse me. And so those guys split the last couple of solos, which of course is those two just gods on the respective instrument, just bouncing it off of each other. Just think, basketball analogy. No matter what you thought about the Heatles, about the Miami Heat when they had LeBron James and Dwayne Wade, those two were bitch in tandem. They really were something. But think Dwayne Wade lobbing it up in transition, LeBron James dropping hammer and slamming it down. For me, that's Mobley and Morgan. As a team, that's like Dwayne Wade and LeBron James, Miami Heat in their prime. I mean, that's really saying something. Then, of course, the next one on the B side, Stretching Out. They call it Stretching Out for a reason. These boys are stretching out on these solos. It's crazy solos by all. Kelly slays. I've just revised my opinion. This is Kelly's finest moment on the record. He just killer solo to open it all up. Then Morgan and Mobley scorch a couple solos apiece on the track. Charlie Persip doesn't waste his long solo on the entire record. Persip's got one solo on the entire record. It's on Stretching Out, and he slays it. It is awesome. If there's one thing I could say, I could have stood to have one, one or two more good Charlie Persip solos on the record. But when you get an album fronted by Mobley and Morgan, you know what you're here for, baby. You're here for the horns, and they do not disappoint. But crazy. And Get Go Blues is the final track of the album. On the B side, obviously, and it's loose and free. It's like a bluesy. It's like the blues, baby. It's loose. It's loose. It's free. It's adventurous. It's loose and free. It's killer solos by Mobley, Morgan, Kelly, Chambers, and Mobley. For one last little short solo to bring it home in that order, the guys slay on it. Everybody. It's just, this album to me is just so well played. It is a phenomenal album. One I would recommend you have in your collection, no matter what. If you're gonna bounce out for an original pressing, be prepared to drop a G. If you don't want one, get yourself something like what I got myself here. This nice, again, this really cool. It's the only, it's a Japanese, white label promo on Blue Note. It's pretty freaking cool. It's a killer one, but get yourself a copy, and hopefully it's made more, readily available going forward on the reissue market and everything like that. And it's a little bit, easier for you guys to get yourself a taste, if you will. But I love this record. Morgan, Mobley, Chambers, Persip, Kelly. What else is there to say? How can you go wrong? I don't think you can. So, that's my take on Blue Note 1574. Hank Mobley's Peckin' Time. I've had a lot of fun. Really sitting down listening to this record again in detail. I've always, of course, listened to it in detail, but really like picking apart the things that I really wanted to talk about on this record. And I hope I did it justice. Hopefully I'll be invited back to do another one of these. I don't see why not. I've got a decent jazz selection. I think I'll be brought back. And I really enjoyed doing this. So until next time, until my next Blue Note series project, or until the next one that you see from anybody, and until my next video, keep dropping that needle, you guys.